Much closer, more hotel rooms, and I think it will grow very fast. Garrett was always a visionary for me. Think about it, the first really comic magazine, 1991, and what Michael Cotton used to do. They used to do imaginary casting for future movies, before we had any movies. And we used to look at it and kind of dream together. And it's great to see someone like Garrett bring it here, because as we all know, that's the industry he loves. And this is a great turnout for the first year coming back here. So I know I'll be here because, as I said to you, it's close. I also think it will be of great value for the studios. It's much easier to get the creative talent, the writers, the actors, the directors into Anaheim. And the other thing that I'm especially excited about, that we are right in Disneyland, I think it will become one of these events that people can bring in more kids, because this culture is fantastic. This is fun to get into, the different levels that fit different ages. And as many of us recognize now, there is a whole new comic book fan base that is actually coming from the movie side versus the book side. But it would be nice for them also to get reacquainted with literature. So anyhow, I'm just delighted to be here for the first time back. I know that Stan, he's walking. You see, Anaheim is so close. He's walking from Beverly Hills. And believe it or not, this guy is as fast as a 20-year-old. Walking is amazing.
Stan has arrived. And,
where?
Is ready whenever you're ready for it.
Where is he?
He's ready to come up. Just call for him.
Hey, Stan! Hey, Stan! Yo!
This is Avi Arad. I have no idea what he's doing here. Or what I'm doing, but this man is a great man. This is the guy who was the first fella who knew the Marvel characters would make great movies, and he's the guy who got it done in the beginning, and we all owe him a big debt.
Let me just add that, of course, without Stan's amazing writing ability, we wouldn't have had any of the success in this industry. Because what Stan did that we are missing now, and I know some people will be pissed off at me, but that's okay. I think Stan wrote people in the way we want them to be. And even the villains were almost victims of circumstance. It wasn't black and white. It was about real life, about gray, about difficulty. And what's amazing is that nothing really changed. If we look at the economy, if we look at the world, and we know the gods are bad, earthquakes, floods, ash, I mean, it's all going crazy. That's what makes movies possible. But one thing I have to say, because I'm very proud of it, I try usually to follow up on my promises. And Stan and I had a dinner at the Del Air Hotel many years ago. I had some hair, and he looked the same.
I got younger.
And by the way, I know that your partner is here. You know the reason? Yes. You know the carpet, they should pay your royalties. Every time I see the advertising, I see Stan in there. You know what I'm talking about? It's you.
I have not known what this man was talking about since the day I met him.
You'll know. But anyhow, the point was that we sat down and we started talking about making movies. And everybody was really skeptical. I don't blame him. I had no idea what I was saying to him. The one thing I remember like yesterday is that I told him one of the first things I'd love to do is Iron Man. And he was going, I love Iron Man. And we ended up in the animated show. And when we finally put the movie together, there were more naysayers on this project than on anything else we ever done. And as we know, the rest is history. And the next one is opening next month. I can tell you just from tracking, this is going to be a major event. And without this man doing his thing for so many years, you cannot make entertainment without an amazing story. And he's the greatest storyteller for me that ever lived.
I thought he was going to say you can't make entertainment without Stan, but all right, it was close. I want to thank you very much for not leaving me anything left to say. You've said it all. You're a good audience. Thank you very much. I hope we'll meet again sometime. What are we doing here?
Well, I think we're gonna take a few audience questions, but I think my first question was going to be for you guys, was how did you guys originally meet, and what was that first kind of...
Reluctantly.
They actually made it get together with him, and it was a while. He was hiding. Couldn't get a date with him, but and then he picked up the Bel Air Hotel. I still get lost trying to find this hotel. So of course I was late, and he was hoping that I'd never show up. But the truth is, I came in and I knew that one of the perks is working with a legend. And I'm serious when I'm saying it. There are a lot of people out there who created one thing, two things. They got lucky because phenomena are, in a way, have a lot to do with luck. But if you do it 10 times, 15 times, that's not luck. That's a sixth sense. And I wish they had it.
I can't really hear enough about the sheer wonderfulness of me. You notice I did not interrupt him at any time. I got to tell you, this guy is really incredible, though. When I first met him, he's an engineer, and he held 1 million patents on toys that he invented. He was like a zillionaire before he even came to Marvel and before we ever met him.
It's the comic book business. You better be rich to be in it.
And the only reason I was nice to him, I thought I could borrow some money, but I got to tell you, this guy still has the first penny he ever made. So, but what the hell, I had to be nice to him because he became the producer of all the movies, and the only way I could get I know you're all sitting there thinking, what do I have anything to do with him for?
Cameos.
The only way I could get a cameo, I mentioned his name, and I got into the movies, so there I am. Now I'm a big star, and I don't need him, and I get stuck with him at all these meetings.
Okay.
Stan, do you have a favorite cameo from all your Marvel cameos?
Oh, who am I to say? They're all so wonderful. I'll leave that to the public to judge. Each one of them is a little vignette. It's a little slice of life that you can interpret as you wish.
Like most Wizard Q&As, we were going to let you guys help out. If you guys have questions, you can raise your hand. We'll start right over here. Is there going to be a Deadpool movie starring Ryan Reynolds?
Gotta ask him, is there gonna be a
It's a good rumor.
I love the way he commits.
I'm back over here.
Hey Stan, in 78 when Dick Donner's Superman came out, or 89 when Tim Burton's Batman came out, were you at all jealous that these other projects were getting made and you weren't happening?
I am jealous of everything. Everything that people do that I'm not involved in. I'm jealous of Kick-Ass. Where was I when this thing came out? I'm jealous of the caps that he wears, and he's got, you should see the rings. He's got a ring here, it's a Spider-Man ring. What's the deck set? Is that a one? What's that?
It started with the Spider-Man.
Really? All right, he's got that.
Punisher.
Is that Popeye?
Punisher.
Wait a minute, that's Popeye. I used to know him. Every day he'd come to work with a different T-shirt, with Iron Man, with Spider-Man, with a fantastic. Now he's got Popeye. You gonna do a Popeye?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I should have known. That's why you're here. Now I know what you're promoting. All right. Let me tell you. Wait. No, I gotta tell you. Before that, I gotta tell you. When it comes to Popeye. I don't know how many of you know Popeye, but I can draw Mr. Wimpy better. That was the first character I could ever draw. Mr. Wimpy from the Popeyes, but we'll talk later about that.
He's trying to get a cameo. You see?
I better get one. You want them to come to the theater. How do you think the movies did well? Hey, we gotta see Spider-Man. I hear Stan is in it. Yes, sir.
I read this Ultimo. I want to know when the next issue's coming out.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
Well,
hear
he
you.
wants to know, he loves Ultimo, wants to know when the next issue is coming.
Get away from the mic. Oh, Ultimo! You see, you think I'm only good in English. I am one of the great authorities on Japanese culture and language. And I have this character called Ultimo, which is now obviously a best-selling character in Japan. If you play your cards right, maybe you can get an option to do a movie of it. And what was the question?
I want to know when the
It's out already.
Number 2. I want the follow-up.
Number 2? After number 1, when do you think? No, I never know when the hell they come out. They send me a copy, then I know it's out. I'm sorry. But I'm glad you got it. Keep buying it. I knew somebody was. You're the guy. Great.
First of all, Stan, you robbed an Oscar for your cameo thing.
You know, you're going to save my life. I'm sorry. My hearing isn't as good as it used to be. What did
He says you were robbed of an Oscar for your cameo work.
I should be one.
You should be able to rob.
Oh, I was robbed of. Not only that, I'm engaged on a campaign right now. There should be an award for the best cameo of the year, and would be the most logical recipient.
I want to know about an Iron Fist movie.
He wants to know about an Iron Fist movie.
Iron Fist.
What do you want to know about it?
When is it coming out? Ray Park said you do it. I think everyone...
Wait, you know how I feel? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. The way I feel about our public, you want an Iron Fist movie, you'll get an Iron Fist movie. That's all. They're not going to remember when it doesn't come out. No, but Marvel is putting out movies of every one of their characters. Just be patient. Excuse me, we have an interruption here. What is going on here? I mean, men are talking. This is a very dignified, serious thing. Suddenly we're interrupted. I want to put that man on report.
Right over here. Would you guys be into Joss Whedon working on Captain America or Avengers? Yeah.
Well, my personal opinion is that Joss will do a fantastic job. He loves these characters. He's an amazing writer. What I like mostly about him is a very unique, sophisticated sense of humor. And these kind of movies, if you can add the flip to the characters so they can be funny too, unlike Spider-Man, remember when Stan was writing it? There was nothing funny about Spidey. It was only morose and upset. But I think Josh, most important, I think it's part of his life. So you know he's going to protect it, and whatever is written, I expect someone like him make the script even better. And most important, I think you guys should trust a guy like that to bring this movie together. You agree? Good? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Well, happy birthday. I'm so generous. Just a happy birthday, just like nothing, I guess.
What inspires your characters? What advice do you have to young artists?
What advice? Who are you talking to?
Both of you.
Me? What advice for young artists? One magic word. Draw. Just keep drawing as much as you can. Study the artwork of artists whom you like. See what makes them good. Why do you think they're good? Try to have those same qualities. Study anatomy, perspective, layout, all those things. It's hard work. You've just got to work at it. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. How's that? You agree?
I totally agree.
I spend my life worrying about whether this man will agree with me or not.
Avi, I know you have to get back up to LA, so we're going to say goodbye to you. Everyone give Avi Arad a big hand. Thank you.
He always leaves you with the threat. See you next year.
We will be continuing on with Stanley.
Thank you again.
I feel like I'm losing my security blanket. It's just you and me.
It's just you. Would you like some water, Stan? I'm a little parched.
What's that?
I'm a little parched. I'd like some water.
You know, the funniest thing, I can't hear when it comes through here because it sounds like woo, 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 woo. But when he just talks naturally, I can hear him fine. So get rid of this stupid.
Well, we're going to, right here.
Oh, all the villains. I love the villains better than the heroes. I like Dr. Doom. I like him because he's the king of his own country and you can't arrest him because he has diplomatic immunity. I don't know if they'll tell that. Okay, that's what I like.
I'm going to go on this side. Right back there. Green Lantern again. How you doing? Green Lantern.
Pleasure to meet you.
I want to ask about your more, like Civil War and you know, with doing remakes and reboots, do you ever think we'll get to more complex storylines like Civil War on the big screen or in animated form? Would be great.
He wonders if you think we're going to see things like Civil War and Secret Invasion on the big screen in a movie or animated.
It'd be wonderful. See, the thing is, every one of the big themes that Marvel has had, or any comic book company has had, they'd all be great on the big screen. You are all so lucky because these are the movies that do well. Everybody knows it. So one after another, you're going to see big, spectacular superhero movies coming along as each publisher tries to outdo the other and each production company tries to outdo the other, and it's all for you, you lucky people. Hey, wasn't I great in that? Yeah. And you know what? They finally sent me that robe I was wearing. I have it home now.
Have you ever had an experience like that in real life where overzealous fans actually shown up at your doorstep?
No, I never had a fan show up at my doorstep. But one thing happened. Years ago, Madonna had a house, a couple of houses away from where I lived. And every so often, somebody would knock on my door and say, "Is this where Madonna lives?" And I used to tell my wife, I hope that they're knocking on her door and saying, "Is this where Stan Lee lives?" I doubt it, though. You notice I let him pick the people because I don't want the people who aren't picked going to say, "Oh, that damn Stan, he never picks me." They can be mad at you.
How do you care about these feelings? Stan Lee's Super 7, you would like to know about.
Oh, I would too. No, I've got the thing, and and I'm finishing writing the concept now, the outline, the synopsis of it. And as soon as that's finished, we go into production with it, and that's going to be really cool, I think. I can't tell you too much about it, but what can be bad about something called the Super 7? And even better, Stan Lee's Super 7.
Of all the characters you created, are there any you were surprised by their success or had doubts about?
Oh, I wasn't surprised by any of their successes, no. No, I was really surprised by all of them, and I had doubts about it. You never know. You write something, an artist draws it, it's printed, it's published. You never know what people are going to think. And the first of the so-called Marvel characters, which was the Fantastic Four, I was just so excited when the sales figures came in and we saw that it had done well. Because to me, it could have gone any way. It could have been a bomb or it could have been a success. Luckily, it was a success. Then when we did the Hulk, even my publisher thought that would bomb. And when that sold, we were both surprised and happy. And after that, I expected everything to be. I'm the kind of guy, if a couple of things are good, I figure everything will be good. And when they didn't sell out totally, I was a little annoyed. If there were 2 or 3 copies left over, you know, I would like to have found those 2 people who didn't buy them and give them a little bit of my mind. But I wasn't really, I never worried about it. We just turned out the books. If they sold, fine. If they didn't sell, fine. And it was a mass production job. We were turning, you won't believe this, well, you will believe it. We were turning out like 40, 45, 50 different titles a month. Because while we were doing all the superheroes, we were doing westerns and crime magazines and Millie the Model and Silly Seal and Ziggy Pig animation books and all kind of stuff. So we were so busy just turning things out. We didn't have time to worry about any one particular book, and I'm talking too much, and you go ahead and pick somebody else.
What happened to your short-lived reality experience?
Oh, this want to be a superhero. I kind of enjoyed that, although I hated being the one to say, you gotta leave, you didn't make it. Oh, well. But anyway, we did 2 seasons, and believe it or not, they bought it in England, and they did it as a teenage show. Instead of adults, they used teenage kids doing, wanting to be a superhero. But that was the end of it. I haven't heard any more about it. It may be revived someday, but we're so busy with other things that we haven't got time to think about it.
Very good.
Was I surprised about what?
When other famous people are starstruck by you.
Other famous people are starstruck by me? I wasn't aware of that.
Say that again? Oh, he said like President Obama's a big fan of
Oh, well, what's surprising about that? No, it's a funny thing. I have photos in my office of me with President Reagan, with Clinton, and with Bush. I'll tell you a funny thing about Bush. The photo of Bush and me, we're both laughing. We're standing there laughing at the, facing the camera. And the reason why, he gave me some sort of an award. Before he gave it to me, he gave one to this actress, Olivia de Havilland, who used to star with Errol Flynn in all those movies. And he kissed her on the cheek when he gave it to her. She's now an old lady. Not that I'm a young man, but anyway, he kissed her on the cheek. So then he gave me my little award, and I said to him, I'm not going to have to kiss you, am I? And we both started laughing, and the cameraman caught it, and it's really a great photo. So how did I get on that subject? Oh, good. If I could write any Disney character, who would I pick? Man, I love them all, but I'd love to do a Pirates of the Caribbean, because they probably figure there's nothing left to do, but I'd figure something out. Hey, good to have you here. I'm in trouble.
Hey, I was wondering, with any of the Marvel movie adaptations, has there ever been, what actor or actress has really jumped off the page and really captured your character?
The guy who played the Thing. What's his name? Michael Chiklis, he was the thing. I mean, you couldn't have gotten a better representation of a character than Chiklis playing the thing. Now, beyond that, everybody was really unhappy when they heard that Tobey Maguire was going to be Spider-Man, but he turned out to be pretty good as Peter Parker. And of course, Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man. You know, he was insane.
How do you feel about Chris Evans playing two different characters in the same Marvel universe?
How do I feel about what?
How about Chris Evans playing Human Torch and Captain America?
I don't know, it seems a little bit strange to me, but I gotta tell you, he's a great actor and has a terrific personality, and he's very smart. Now, so I think he'll do a good job. How they're gonna work him being the Torch and Captain America, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not the producer.
Back then. That's you.
Big fan, Stan. I'd like to know out of Ditko, Kirby, and Buscema, who was the best at their craft and who was your favorite worker?
Ditko, Kirby, and Buscema. Who was your favorite and who did you think was the best at their craft?
I can't really, there's no way to answer that, because all three of them were wonderful, are geniuses. I mean, Ditko is still with us. Kirby, nobody could do an action strip the way he could, and nobody could dream up incredible characters and the way they should look the way he did. Ditko was a master at doing simple little believable things and giving them an edge to them. And Buscema was like, he was like the Michelangelo of artists. He was as an artist, he was probably the best artist in the comic book business. I mean, he drew like an old-time illustrator. You'd find his stuff on the Citadel, not the Citadel one. Well, you know what I mean. If I don't know, it doesn't matter. In Rome, whatever that is. But all three of them had their own good points and no bad points, really. And we had other good artists too. But I was the luckiest guy in the world because I could write anything, and these artists would make it look good because it looked better than it really was because they illustrated these things so well. They were all magnificent, really.
Hey, bud. I heard the word superhero. How did you like playing the mayor in Superhero Squad?
Oh, I love being the mayor of the superhero squad, but I'm very offended that they didn't have him look like me. See, I think what happened was they just drew a mayor, and that was the character. And then later they said, hey, let's get Stan to do the voice. And they didn't want to redraw the mayor because that would have cost a lot of money. I was very annoyed about that.
How have conventions changed over the past years? And what are aspects of conventions that have changed or you think, and what things that have changed and don't?
Well, the thing I'm not a fan of is the fact that the conventions are so big and sprawling that if I have to be over here at 10 o'clock, I've got to be over there at 10:30, and it's impossible to get there in a half hour because it's too far away. But the big way that conventions have changed is years ago when they first started, it was a million kids running around, wild and having a great time. And they were all under the age of 14 usually, and occasionally a few adults who were the parents who got stuck because there was nobody else able to babysit the kids. Now, it's all grown-ups, and occasionally a few kids because the grown-up had nobody to leave the kid with. It's very funny. But I gotta tell you, the enthusiasm of the fans has not changed. It's always been great. It's always been fun to come and talk here, and I just love the conventions. I wish there was more time to spend with them, but it's so great to be in a business where you do something and where people really seem to enjoy your work, and I think of that a lot.
I think if you were a shoemaker or you were a clerk in a grocery store or, you know, almost any job, people don't have conventions about what you do, and they don't tell you, boy, I like that pair of shoes you did, or you sold me that box of Cracker Jack, thanks a lot. But we're very lucky in this business that people like you seem to care about what we do, and you let us sit up here and make fools of ourselves for a little while, and thank you very much. Does that answer your question? That was some great answer. Well, you didn't expect anything that good, did you? I hope you made notes.
Thank you, please, sir.
You've written in a lot of different genres, Western, romance, superheroes. Do you have any reasons why you think superheroes took off?
I've written a lot of books in that.
You've written a lot of genres, cowboy, romance. Do you have a reason why you think superheroes took off?
Yeah, I think superheroes took off because we all loved fairy tales when we were kids. Stories of monsters and giants and witches and ogres and magicians and so forth. Bigger than life and imaginative and fun to read. You get a little older, you're not going to read fairy tales anymore. And suddenly along come superhero stories, and to me, they're really fairy tales for grown-ups. Now, you have people who are extra strong, who can fly, who can shoot flame from their fingertips. These are fairy tales, but they're done in such a way that they're believable, just like the old-time fairy tales were believable to kids. And I think people always like stories that are bigger than life and very imaginative. And that's why I think the superhero genre, and it doesn't specifically have to be a superhero, but stories of high concept, I think they'll always be popular. Hey, that was real serious, wasn't it? He wants to know how I managed to do 10 different stories at one time, and the answer is I didn't. I only did one story at a time. I would do one story, then I'd go to the next story, and then the next, but it was always one at a time. And luckily, writing comes pretty easy to me. I don't say I write well, but I do write fast. And maybe it's because I really hate writing. I can't wait to get finished with the damn thing, which is why people ask me often, how come you never wrote a novel? And the reason is the idea of writing 300 pages. All my life, I've written a 20-page story, a 10-page story, maybe someday a 30-page story. And the nice thing is I could always write them in one day. And when I finished, I was through. It was done. The next day was another story. That's fine. But at least I knew by nightfall that would be finished. I couldn't live with a long story. And writing a lot of little ones, that is kind of easy.
Hi, I'd like to ask, what character would you like to see play you in a movie based on your life?
I appreciate you doing this, but I still couldn't make out the words. Well, let's see. Brad Pitt is pretty busy. I don't know. I've looked so different over the years with beards and bouquets and unshaven and my hair long and short and without hair. I don't know. Pardon me? Tom Selleck? I'll pick Tom Selleck. Yeah, if they dress him up a little bit, you know. I missed the last part. Is Marvel ever going to what?
Is Marvel going to do something with the rumors of all three that Spider-Man movies? Is Marvel ever going to
One movie.
one movie universe that all?
Oh, a movie universe. Well, as much as you see, the problem is some other movie companies have the rights to some of the Marvel characters. And after a few years, Marvel will get them all back. And once Marvel and Disney have them all back, then they'll make the determination of what to do. But I'm sure it would be wonderful to have them all either in one movie or in one universe, the way we did in the comic books. And sooner or later they will get to that, absolutely.
What's the weirdest experience you've had with
Outside of this, what's the weirdest experience you've had with
Sometimes some girls come over and ask me to autograph parts of their body. I must tell you, I haven't had many weird experiences. The fans are about the nicest people you can find anywhere. And it's usually, hello, Mr. Lee, can I have an autograph or a picture? I just want to tell you I like your stuff, or I hate your stuff, as the case may be, but it's always polite. And, no, I can't think of any real weird situations. I've kind of enjoyed every meeting I've had with fans.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of your comics is game named Soapbox. I was wondering, a little portion of your comic talks about superheroes, about war, race, and kind of social.
Why did I write the soapbox?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was a book that nobody ever heard of. You've heard of the Hardy Boys and so forth. Well, there was a series of books like that called Jerry Todd, and another series called Papillot, and they were written by the same guy, Leo Edwards, which was probably a pen name. But anyway, these were the only hardcover books you'd ever find that had letters pages at the end. He printed letters from readers who had read previous books in the series with his own answer, and I loved that so. It made me feel I knew Leo Edwards, you know, and it gave me a nice feeling about the characters. So when I started doing the Marvel strips, I wanted to have the same feeling between me and the fans that I felt that there was between this writer and his fans. And also, I kind of like to imagine that I knew the people out there who were reading the stories, and I wanted them to know me. I wanted it to be a friendly thing. In fact, you may have noted in the letters pages, at DC Comics, the letters always said, "Dear Editor, signed John so-and-so." When we got a letter, it would say, "Dear Stan," and when I'd answer it, I wouldn't say, "Dear John," I'd say, "Hey, John." And I just tried to make it friendlier. And it's a little thing, but it seemed to work. And after a while, the fans themselves would start acting as if they knew us and we knew them, and we're all part of like an inside joke that the world doesn't know about. And that was the reason for the soapboxes. In fact, you can get a copy. All the soapboxes were put into a book, which is now on sale by the Hero Initiative, which is that charity organization for artists who are having hard times. And all the money for the sales of that book goes to that charity. And if ever you want to, my soapbox books are on sale. Am I going to do what?
An updated version of how to draw Marvel.
I'm doing another book about how to write, and then it'll probably be followed with another how to draw book. I'm doing it for Nick Barucci's company, Dynamic Comics, I believe is the name. And actually, I've written the outline of it. Someone else is writing the book, but following the outline I gave them. And I don't have time to do the whole book, and that'll be out soon. But, oh man, I love that book. And you know, so many people have done it and have learned how to draw it with it. John Buscema gets all the credit. I mean, he made up all the drawings and he arranged the whole book. I just wrote the copy to make it readable and fun and wonderfully literate. What?
Will you be doing autographs today?
I think so. I think there's a session somewhere.
A raffle. Yes, that those who take us to see who gets to get line for the sign.
I gotta tell you, I never know what I'm gonna do. When I'm invited to a convention, I arrive and somebody says, okay, now you go here, now you go there, and I never know in advance. All I do is find, are you sure I can leave by 5 o'clock? Yes, that's all I wanna know. Oh, I'm sorry you asked me that. I really don't read comics nowadays. And it's not from a lack of interest. I simply do not have the time. I am so damn busy all the time. I don't even have time to come to these conventions, but I don't like to miss them. But no, I don't have time to read them.
All the way back to Bunny ears.
Dan, you're like an inspiration for everyone who has read comics since childhood. I'm sure I can speak for everyone here, but...
You're an inspiration to everyone here.
Oh, I assume that's so. Thank you very much.
I was wondering, what's one superhero that you've created that you wish they could do a movie on?
What's one
And
superhero
why?
you created that you'd like to do a movie on that they haven't?
I think Doctor Strange, but they will pretty soon. I think he'd be pretty cool.
I'm going back again. Yes.
Stan, you're known for the phrase Excelsior. How did you come up with that phrase, and why don't you use it more often? I remember in the 80s you used it a lot with the Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends.
How did I come up with
How did
something?
you come up with Excelsior, and why don't you use it more?
If I used it anymore, people would get even sicker of it than they're getting now. But what happened was, when I wrote my columns in at the Marvel books years ago, I would always end up with some expression, like "nuff said," or "hang loose," or "face front," or I had little expressions that I used. I didn't like to say "yours truly" all the time. And I found that the competition was using those expressions that I was using. And that kind of got me a little bit annoyed. So I said, I'm going to find something that I can write that nobody else will use because they won't know how to spell it and they won't know what it means. So Excelsior is the word that's on the Great Seal of the state of New York. And it's from an old English saying, it means upward and onward to greater glory. So I thought that was pretty good, and I've been using it, and apparently the competition does not know what it means, and they could never spell it, so it's been working out okay.
Over back.
Hi, Stan. What are your favorite television and/or movie versions of Spider-Man and the Hulk?
What are your favorite TV or movie versions of Spider-Man and the Hulk?
Well, I think I probably like the second Hulk movie a little bit better than the first. And Spider-Man, I thought the first movie was the best. I thought the second one was... I really liked them all, but I thought the first one was the best.
What about the cartoons?
What about the cartoon?
I'm not an authority on them. Even though I've narrated some and so forth, I never had time to watch them very much. And I get them mixed up. There have been so many Marvel cards. People sometimes ask me, hey, you remember the one in 1962, blah, blah, or the one in 1970, or the one with this one? I don't know. They all homogenize in my mind.
Yeah, speaking of your recent cartoons, I've seen some recent ones that say Stan Lee's Condor or Stan Lee's Mosaic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, now why do these have your official name on them? Are these ones you directly contribute to still?
Oh, there are DVDs that say Stan Lee's Condor and Stan Lee's Mosaic. Somebody wanted to do some live-action DVDs and asked me if I'd write the stories for them. So I wrote the story, and then somebody else did the screenplay, and somebody else directed it, and so forth. I wasn't terribly happy with the way they came out. But the point is that since they were based on my original stories, and they thought it would help it to sell, they put on the jacket of the DVD Stan Lee's Condor and Stan Lee's Mosaic. They weren't bad, but I think they could have been better. And now I won't let anybody put my name on anything unless I really am in charge of it and it represents what I think it should be. If it's not going to be good, I want it to be my fault, not somebody else's fault. Hey, thanks for having me.
They just approved a new commodity to be traded yesterday, which is Hollywood box office.
Wait, he said something about commodity and
Hollywood box office.
Hollywood box office uses a new commodity that's going to be traded. Do you think that would be creativity out of Hollywood?
Hollywood box office commodity is not a trader. And will that take the creativity out of Hollywood?
I don't think, I'm not quite sure I understand, but I don't think anything will ever take the creativity out of Hollywood. There are always going to be people with great stories they want to tell. There'll always be producers who want to produce those stories. And no matter what happens business-wise, there'll always be great movies, I think, I hope. Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel that Disney wants to find folks like Marvel or Bob? How does that what do you like in writing, images, drawings?
It's such a funny feeling where I only get like one word out of every three, and I try to figure out what it is, but
How do you feel about the Disney buying of Marvel? And does it affect you at all with creativity or?
well, the Disney buying of Marvel affected me in this way. I have a company called POW Entertainment. Now, I'm sure you've all figured out that POW stands for Purveyors of Wonder. And, POW is sort of sandwiched in between Marvel and Disney. I'm still involved with Marvel. I'm still the chairman, emeritus, thank you, I forgot the word. And now that I'm involved, we have what they call a first look deal at Disney, which means anything I write, I have to let Disney see it first. And if they want to do it, great, and if not, I'm free to sell it elsewhere. And POW, Disney just took a very small bite out of POW. They now own a little bit of POW. So I'm involved with Marvel and Disney and POW. And I think that Disney buying Marvel is one of the best things that could have happened because there's nothing to worry about. You're not going to find Iron Man with Mickey Mouse ears. The people at Disney are, boy, they're almost as smart as I am. And they're leading. Marvel is free to do what Marvel does, but now they have the benefit of the world's greatest marketing company and distribution company and all that business knowledge behind them and all that money behind them. So it's only going to be better for Marvel, and I think it's going to be great for Disney now having those characters in its stable. So it's a good deal.
I've got time for two more questions. So the two best questions.
Well, what if they're two long questions and it would take a long answer?
Who knows what's going to happen next? I'm going to go right here with Beard Face.
Something about Kirby.
Share just a experience. He wants to hear one of the first experiences between you and Kirby.
My first experience with Kirby was when I started working there. He was working with Joe Simon. They were the art department at Marvel, which was then called Timely. And I was hired sort of like an office boy, or just an assistant. I would fill their inkwells. In those days, they dipped the brushes in ink. And I would go down and get sandwiches for them. And my first conversation with Kirby, I think I said, you want it on toast or... So, he was a great guy, though. Always, both of them, Simon, are always puffing cigars. I mean, you could be asphyxiated walking into that little room. And Jack was always drawing. God, he loved to draw. And he was great even then. And Simon drew also, and he wrote, and the two of them were a great team. And they were my heroes. And then later on, when they left, I became the editor after a year or two. And then later on, Jack came back to work for us. And it must have been a little bit awkward for him because I had just been a little kid in the office, and suddenly he was working for me. But we got along very well. I mean, that feeling passed after a while, and I started writing his things, and he drew them, and he was the greatest guy to work with that you could ever find, and one of the nicest, most decent, hard-working human beings.
Last question. I'm going to go in the back over here. Yes.
It better be good. Last one. It's a hell of a responsibility.
How do you feel about the direction Marvel is going in there since Civil War happened?
How do you feel about the direction of the Marvel Universe since Civil War? The villains took over.
Well, I'm not that up on everything that Marvel is doing today, but the few books I've looked at, and I remember I thought the Civil War was really a brilliant idea. It was original, it was timely, and it was beautifully done. And you know, when a company is publishing book after book of the same characters, month after month, they've got to come up with new ideas, and they've got to show the characters in different lights, and they've got to have surprises for you, or you'll get tired of them. Joe Quesada, who's the editor-in-chief of Marvel now, I think, has a tougher job than I ever had, because I only had these few titles, and I did the best I could with them. He's got so many more titles, and so many readers, and so many people hanging on whatever is done. And if they don't do well, and the books don't sell, it's going to be a catastrophe. With me, we weren't that big a company. It didn't matter. The book didn't sell, we'll turn out another book. So, I forget what the question was. I'm talking so much. But anyway, I think that what they're doing in trying to come up with new ideas, and some of the new ideas, some of you may think are a little too extreme, or some of you may love them, or whatever, but they have to keep having surprises for you, or else you're going to start saying, it's the same thing month after month. It doesn't matter if I miss this issue. And that is the one thing you must never do.
Stan, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for coming.